Okay, so I'm going to put together Lord Castellan Ursula Creed. So this is actually quite an interesting one to put together. Looks actually very simple, so I found that with quite a lot of the characters, the actual builds are very straightforward because you just focused on a single sprue. She does have some options though, so I've set up option 1 in blue on here and option 2 in purple. I'm going to go for option 2 in purple because I just actually like the idea that she's battle ready. She's got her helmet on over here and she's got a pair of binoculars ready to go. Okay, and I'm glad I've invested in a new pair of clippers because my old ones were absolutely wrecked. Okay then, so we start off by basically getting the main parts of the body, which are 1 and 2. Now you'll notice that it's an entire side of the body all the way down the leg, which I find quite interesting. Quite an interesting choice as far as design goes about how you actually put this together. My biggest worry about that is whether or not you're going to end up with a long line right down the miniature if it doesn't set properly when you glue it. So I'm just going to tie this up. I have a suspicion, I think, why that was done like that. It just makes it so much harder to make a copy of the model. Now, on a positive, just to begin with, it looks like the actual mould lines where they've actually injected are pretty much well hidden. It's one of my biggest complaints about some miniatures is the mould lines are far too often visible. Well, the injection points of the plastic are far too visible. So glad that these are a little bit more hidden apart from a tiny bit on the boot. Let's get this glued up. So, as always, just try my best not to overdo it so I don't get a spill over. Now I'm going to have to make sure that I even this out a bit. There we go. And as I always say, when you start putting them together, it's a nice easy fit, that, by the way. Just kind of push and pull it apart, particularly on this first stage of the model, to really get that setting. Well, okay, I'm quite pleased straight away because it looks like all the major details are hidden, as in that mould line is covered up. I just feel like there, not as much as I would want. Okay, and then just turn that together. Okay, so that's our first little stage, getting 1 and 2 together, and then our next stage is getting 3 and 4. So 3 here is the front. It feels so nice to have a new sharp pair of clippers doing this. And this is going to go here. Now, before I actually attach that on, I'm just going to dry fit it to make sure that I understand how it clicks together, and also to make sure that I don't need to put the back plate on at the same time, which it doesn't look like I need to, which is great. I prefer to only deal with one little bit at a time to keep it neater. Again, I don't want that glue there rolling outwards, so I'm just gonna really push that in, try and make sure it dries. Okay, well that's drying up. I'm gonna get the back of the coat out, which is 4. Now, as I said on my unboxing video, I love that this is her father's coat, and that she's made a personal choice not to repair it in his honour, which I think is just absolutely lovely. It's those little touches that I like on a model, I really do. Now, I think if you're the kind of person who likes to paint models in sections rather than all together, this is definitely one of the bits you want to leave off, because you're going to have this little bit here. It's only a minor detail, but it's actually where her armour's poking through the back of the coat. I myself, well, it's not that I disagree with building in sections, I just don't tend to think that I paint as well if I do it like that. Just get that nice and secure on there. Yeah. Doesn't look tidy enough there, does it? Okay, great, coming along. I think I'm going to have to put her next to a Space Marine later on and check for scale. Okay, now we need the front armour. Now, I'm pretty certain that the term Urs means bear, because you got things like Ursaring, Ursun. And I have to admit, looking at this model so far and looking at particularly her father, it definitely rings true that they are big bear of people, very heavy set. Love that, very practical armour, but yeah, can tell she's a well-built, strong lady. Okay, and then what we need next is we need the sides of the coat, which is this number 6 and number 7. So number 6 is the left side of the coat. Again, I'm just going to do a dry fit to begin with, just to make sure that I understand where it goes. Oddly enough, she's going to look out of place because my force is Death Corpse of Craig. But I'll deal with that later on. Okay, and then number 7 to do the right side. Sure, there was one other clip point that I've missed there. There it is. Yep, that's it. There we go. And again, I'm just going to dry fit that just so I'm 100% confident about where it's going. Which is there. House is particularly warm today, so my glue's running a lot quicker than I normally want. Really want to push that in there. Now, even with that properly squeezed in, there's a slight gap there that I'm not happy with. Okay, and then this is where we go into deciding which one. So I've already decided that I'm going to use basically the helmeted with the binoculars. So that's going to be 19, 20, 21, 22. If you want to do her open helmet with no helmet on, holding her scepter, obviously you're going for, let's have a look here, I think it's 9 and 10, and I think collar 20, let's have a look, collar number 8, so it's 8, 9, 10. So starting off here, I've got to find collar 21, which is over here. And obviously this is just going to be a slight difference in the shape, and we're talking a very small difference, and it's just to cope with the fact that the helmet's on. Do a dry fit first because I'm not sure how well this, so dry fit just there nicely. Okay, and then while that's drying, I'm going to go and get number 11, which is the sword. So the sword is the same no matter what. So whether or not you pick an option A or option B, the sword is on her right hand. I love the fact, and I do absolutely love the fact that, as I said, she's a grand-sized lady, and yet you can see on her hand her father's coat is actually quite big even then. Which, just like, obviously, if they were to actually remake Creed, they're pretty much giving a very, very good indication that the guy is a complete and utter beast of a man. Okay, so that should go like that in a very down position. It looks a bit too far down, but when I kind of line up those points there, it's exactly where it should go. Okay, and now I'm going to get number 22, which is the helmeted head. I'm just making sure that I cut this in the right place, because there looks like a lot of the peg behind that one. Now, seeing how that fits. So yeah, head slightly tilted, it'll be heading towards the collar. I'm not going to glue that because I don't want to paint her with the helmet on. I want to make sure that I can get my paintbrush into every single little area, and I advise you do the same, and then you can just glue it on when it's done. And then potentially as well, you could also utilise that as you could paint up both heads then if you wanted to, and have a bit of a change now and then. And then I want number 19. And number 20, which is her binoculars. It'd look quite easy as well with those binoculars, that if she wasn't wearing them, it wouldn't really be difficult to put them somewhere else on the model. Or potentially, actually, you know, when you're making her command squad, even go as far as converting the command squad so that maybe one of the troops is her, or what's the right word, her retainer. So if you wanted to kind of evoke, I think it's Sergeant Krell, she could have a retainer, couldn't she? Maybe who carries her scepter, who carries whatever parts you basically aren't putting on here. So actually, I've fell in love with that idea now. Okay, I fell in love with that idea. I'm actually probably going to end up doing that at some point. I'm probably going to create a retainer for her. Okay, now these need to sit so that that's kind of downwards. I'm just having a look, I think. This is why it's a good idea to dry fit things, because this is actually quite strange in its positioning by the look of it. So the hand goes up and over, and then it kind of fits like that, so that you can see a little kind of like bit that looks like her thumb clasping under it, which I think is, yeah, you can see her thumb there kind of clasping around it. So I think it's very important to work out exactly how that goes in. Definitely feels like that is the approach. With that hanging downwards is just sort of really getting that thumb into the right position. It feels very odd joined, this. So when I do that, it feels like the thumb's just not attached properly. When I pull it too far back, it just feels like really odd. Now that is where I start to really get wound up with some of these minis. That's obviously her thumb, isn't it? Obviously sits naturally like that. There we go. I think that's right. Yeah, because if it's in this hand, the thumb is going to be raised up to the top, isn't it? Coming up, up upwards in that kind of manner, holding on to it. This feels odd more than anything, the way that it kind of clicks in. There we go. Right there, yeah, that seems right. It seems very like off, that positioning of that thumb. It really does. It just doesn't. I mean, I'm trying to think if I'm holding a binocular. Yeah, she's got it like that. So I think that's definitely, it's hard to tell from the positioning there. But that does look like it's gone on right now. Oh. My glue's dried up a bit, fiddling around. There we go. That looks right now. Okay. Let's pop this on here now. Okay, and I've not glued that bit on. Got to be careful, I've got to remember that I've not glued that part on. Okay, now what we need to look at then is putting 12 and 13, the pistols, on. Now, I'm not going to actually do that right now because I want to be able to paint these separate. But they're not a difficult thing to put on. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to cut them like that so I can actually paint them a bit easier off them. And then they will actually just go you can see where there's a couple of little clips. The reason I'm not doing that is because I really want to get everywhere into this model and have a really good clean up. Get my paintbrush right where I want it. So moving on to the base now. Start off with 15. This is this main section here. Now, obviously, depending on your force, you may or may not want to use this base. You may want to create your own scenic base to match the rest of your force. And then the only problem with that is obviously when you're building a base for something like this that has an ornate scenic base, is you might find that it doesn't quite fit flat, so you're going to have to play around and find out where the individual parts sit on it first. Okay, and then this here. So I think what we're looking at here is these kind of point backwards, these spikes, and then I think this, let me just work this out. It feels like it goes on the back. I'm just going to check now. It feels like this goes in the back somewhere by looking at the, yeah, it does. So you slide it in backwards like that. So get it lined up and then move it under like that. Okay, and then over here we're going to get 16. Now this is going on the front here, so you can see it just kind of slots into there. And then last little bit of this base, I think, is this banner standard, Acadian standard. I said, oh gosh, I would be completely and utterly tempted not to even put this on, because imagine how cool this thing's going to look held by someone who you've converted to be her personal retainer. I'm going to put it on for now though, because I don't have a guardsman who would really suitably hold this. I don't have any of the new guardsmen yet. Now, this, just seeing if there's an obvious hole that this fits into right now. It feels like just kind of comes back down here, so you can see around the back it feels like there's a place where it fits quite naturally. And then if you put it in like that, just trying to see if it'll, yeah, there we go. You want it kind of floating ahead so it's visible at the front. So it kind of is going to slide in there, and it looks like it attaches into there. Which, as I said, I don't really want to do, because I actually feel like that would be a fantastic conversion. Someone to be holding. I'm just going to very gently glue it for now. I'm going to put the teeny tiny blob of glue. Oh, no. My glue's going too fast this morning. Try that again. Right there in that little gap. So you gotta get that on that side. And then just kind of, I'm probably gonna have to kind of hold it like that for a bit while it secures itself in. And then like all we need to do next is glue her to the base, so it seems that her foothold is one there, and then I'll take her head off for now because I've not actually glued that in, so it doesn't keep falling around. Oh no, I've put that glue in the wrong place, haven't I? I've put it there and it's not there. It's a bit further back. And then I'm not going to glue it to the actual main base yet, but there she is, absolutely amazing. I love this miniature and I think she looks brilliant. That's Ursula Creed, Lord Castellan of Cadia.